Morning peeps, good morning everyone. All right, let's do a Monday morning catch up. Let's see what there is to talk about from the world of boxing today. There's always something. Before we do that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget as well to like and share the vids. Thank you very much because it really does help the channel. All right, let's start with this one. Ryan Garcia to Gervonta Davis. I will whoop your ass, put you to sleep. Okay, look, if I'm Ryan Garcia, I've got a big fight coming up July 16th. My full focus right now is on Fortuna. Ryan Garcia shouldn't even be thinking about Gervonta Davis, Devin Haney, George Kambosos, Vasily Lomachenko. He should be thinking about Fortuna and making sure that he looks good, he looks impressive, and he gets the job done. Fortuna's no gimme. Ryan Garcia should beat him, but he's no gimme, and that should be my full focus. I feel like there's been so much talk from Ryan Garcia and Oscar recently about Gervonta Davis. It's almost quite disrespectful to Fortuna. And if I'm Fortuna and I'm listening to this talk about, yeah, I'm going to fight Gervonta Davis in December or next year, I'm like, okay, you're overlooking me. You show me a bit of disrespect here. That would give me a bit more fuel to the fire I've already got. And look, it's not Ryan Garcia's fault. He's been asked questions about Gervonta Davis. He's answering them. But for now, full focus on Fortuna. And also, let's be honest, the very likelihood of Gervonta Davis leaving his current broadcaster to fight on DAZN against Ryan Garcia is minimal. Like right now, it's minimal. Whatever happens in a couple of years, who knows? But right now, it's minimal. And unless Oscar's offering 8 figures, ain't gonna happen. Honestly, it ain't gonna happen. So as much as, and that pains me to say it, but as much as we want to see Ryan versus Gervonta and all the other fights within the lightweight division and guys maybe coming up from 130, guys, unfortunately, we've got to look at what broadcasters these guys are on and ask ourselves, is it realistic? Again, unless these broadcasters are going to pay above what the fighters should be getting paid, we can get excited as long as we want. We ain't going to see these fights. We are not going to see these fights. So, look, I want to see Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Davis desperately as well. Ryan clearly wants it. Gervonta clearly wants it. But we have a broadcast problem. Could Ryan go over there? Possibly, but again, it has to be big money. Has to be big money. I know, I think Oscar spoke about, got the split broadcaster. So the fighters almost get paid 50-50. Is that what they're worth? I'm not quite sure. And then it's shown on both platforms. I mean, at least he's putting options out there, but again, I'm not quite sure. Amir Khan here. Adam Azeem is a special fighter. He will go far. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I mentioned him on my video yesterday saying I think he's very, very good. And although he's beaten people he should be beaten, the way in which he's beaten them is impressive. But boy, boxing has levels. Like, how many fighters have we seen that look impressive at this stage of their career fighting this level of opponent? Hundreds, thousands. Let's go up a couple of levels. And then we'll see. Can he still look impressive? That's the difference. That's when you know you've got something a bit special. When I go up to English, okay, guy's still very, very special. British, oh my God, then we get excited, right? When they start running through sort of European Commonwealth, just like that. Now, if Adam Azeem can do that, then obviously we do have a special talent, and we'll see how far he can go. For now, though, let's keep our powder dry, and let's see him take on better opposition before we start to get too excited. Because I've even seen guys that have looked shit at sort of area level, English level, and then all of a sudden they step up to British level and they look impressive. So it can go both ways. So let's see. Tyson Fury, I tried to make Joshua fight 6 times. He's a diva who doesn't want to fight. Obviously Tyson Fury is doing his tour. Have you seen how many dates Tyson Fury's got on this tour? It's more than a bloody rock star. But Tyson Fury is doing this tour of the UK. I think Kugan Cassius is doing the interviews within it. And he said this on one of those tours. That's obviously not true, what he's saying. Like, Tyson Fury is so, like, I don't want to say he lies. I don't want to go as far as saying that. But he definitely sort of makes sort of a small story into a Hollywood story. He knows how to Hollywood a story up, if that's the right phrase. We know that there were some negotiations last year. And AJ signed to fight Tyson Fury last year. We know this, right? Are we all going to pretend we don't know this? And then the situation with Deontay Wilder and the court came and that fight couldn't happen. I think that's the one time we really know there were genuine negotiations. Now, could there have been other times in the past where, you know, maybe a phone call to a manager happens, you know, is AJ interested, is Fury interested? Yeah, maybe. And those ones won't be put out in public. But to say he tried to make the Joshua fight 6 times is just a blatant lie. It's a lie. And no one should believe it. No one should believe it. As for Joshua being a diva who doesn't want to fight, again, why? Like, there's too much now. There's too much out there to know these things aren't true. And I'm not just saying that as an AJ fan, but even the AJ Wilder negotiations. Remember all that? And I think at the time, John Skipper, who used to work for DAZN, had to be the mediator between the camps because I don't think it was going to work with Eddie Hearn. And I think DAZN offered Deontay Wilder a big deal. Remember, he turned it down, and then he took the Dominic Breazeale fight. I think it was Luis Ortiz Fury instead. I could be wrong. My time frame might be a bit off. But we know that AJ tried to make that fight. And I think even Wilder admitted that he turned down an AJ fight to fight Fury. So AJ has obviously tried to make these fights. And look, AJ probably needs to have these fights. When it's all said and done, it's going to be difficult for AJ to, even if he beats Usyk, and look, I pray to God he does, but even if he beats Usyk, it's difficult for AJ to kind of have a conversation about being the best in this era if he doesn't fight those 2 guys in the era, and those 2 guys being Fury and Wilder. But there is no way, and look, I'm not privy to a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. I know a little bit, but I'm telling you now, there is no way Fury tried to make the Joshua fight 6 times. It's absolute bollocks. And I think you guys know that as well. Let's see what Fury does. There's a lot of talk about, I'm done, I'm retired. You know, I would love a fighter to retire and just retire. I would love it because, again, I know how dangerous the sport is. And Tyson Fury, and I said this in the lead up to the Dillian White fight, it's taken a lot of punishment. Like Wilder hit him clean, right hands, down the middle, like clean. Like that one in the 3rd fight, clean. That takes years off your life, man. So if Tyson Fury has called it quits, and I think he's got, 6 kids and a beautiful wife, perfect. Honestly, that's the way it should be. Get in, get rich, get out. Tyson Fury sort of got in, beat Klitschko, maybe didn't make a lot of money, and left. Obviously, he went through depression and mental health. He's come back in. He's rolled the dice on himself. His numbers have come up several times. He's been in the WWE. He's doing these tours. He's, best-selling author. He's made millions. This is the right time to walk away, but they're going to offer crazy money, life-changing, sort of future generation-changing money if AJ beats Usyk. But we'll see what he does. But yeah, back to that. I tried to make the fight 6 times rubbish. Don't believe it. Please don't. This is interesting. Hearn defends Dereck Chisora matchmaking criticism. Obviously, look, in a couple of weeks, so not this Saturday, next Saturday, Pulev versus Chisora. I did think, after watching Chisora versus Parker, that was it. That was enough for me. I spoke to Tony Bellew and Andy Lee after the way I closed the show for DAZN, and Tony Bellew, obviously very close to Chisora, says, look, I'm never going to tell someone to retire, but he doesn't want to see Chisora fight again. Andy Lee was more the case of, let him just have fun fights. Like, he doesn't need to be in with guys like, the Parkers and the top 10, top 15 guys. Let him just have fun fights. I don't know if this is a fun fight. I think Pulev's very, very, very dangerous for Chisora. Like, I think Pulev hits hard, he's strong, there's still a bit left. And I think Hearn has been criticised, not just for the Pulev fight, but remember after that, he's like, I think he said something along the lines of Dereck Chisora could fight Deontay Wilder. And you're like, well, 1 second. Like, Andy Lee said fun fights. Like, what do you mean Deontay Wilder? Like, I was even thinking of people like Areola. Honestly, that was my level for Chisora. I was thinking, all right, I wouldn't mind Chisora being, on the undercard, so not headlining, against an Areola. If it's okay for a former world champion in Andy Ruiz to have that fight, it's okay for Chisora. But they put him in with Pulev. And look, if he somehow beats Pulev, then it's going to be a big one next. That's how it is. Or when I say big one, I don't mean something in the lead to a world title, but it's going to be a big-ish name next. They wanted Kalnaki, so maybe they'll try and go back to that. But yeah, I don't know, man. I saw him take a lot of punishment from Parker, so I'm a bit concerned for Chisora. you know, once you get to know these fighters on a personal level, you look at them a bit different, and I'm a bit concerned for him. Golovkin says he probably won't fight Canelo for the 4th time if he wins. It's too expensive. Yeah, it is. It's interesting that he's actually said this. It is very expensive. Like, sometimes you do wonder how these broadcasters make money. Like, some of the millions that's being thrown around is incredible. Even when Floyd was at his peak, and Showtime were paying him like 30 million guaranteed, Floyd was always, you know, around that 1 million pay-per-view buy mark, always around it. So you know he's guaranteeing you a return. Plus, his opponents, like you think of the ones like Robert Garcia and Victor Ortiz, Andre Berto, they're only making 4 or 5 million. They weren't making, you know, they weren't making 10s and 20s and 30s like we're hearing now. You think about what Canelo and Golovkin are going to get paid. And I'm guessing Canelo's probably going to get paid somewhere around that 30 million mark, and Golovkin won't be short of that, maybe 15 to 20. That's incredible for something that I don't know will do 1 million. It's incredible amounts of money. So Golovkin's correct. It is too expensive. And like, I'm sure DAZN, you know, have smarter people than me behind the scenes that will say that, no, you know, it still generates us money. But I'd love to know how. Is it selling it, the international rights, sponsorship, marketing? I don't know, but I find it crazy. Jake Paul challenges Tyson Fury to bet $1 million on brother Tommy Fury. Fury accepts. Careful, Jake. Don't know if you're going to get that money. What I will say is that I think Jake Paul did a video saying his lawyer has reached out to Fury's lawyer to ask the money to be put in escrow. So this isn't a case of a little joke bet, like, yeah, I bet you. No, this is real. The money has to be in escrow. And one thing about Jake Paul is that he will out Tyson Fury if that money's not put in escrow, and B, if Tyson Fury doesn't pay. Now, Tyson Fury doesn't seem like the person who gives a fuck if he's been outed or not, but Jake Paul will at least do that. Hearn, here, Bam Rodriguez can unify any division from 108 to 115. Steady. Steady. Some good fighters around. We'll see what he can do. I mean, there's been some talk about him going back down in weight. I think Sonny Edwards sort of put a picture up of all the guys within sort of the light flyweight division and said, the reason that Bam Bam isn't here. And I think Bam was like, I'm coming back down. So we'll see. There's some good fights down there, you know, some very, very good fights down there. Anything else before we wrap up for the day? A lot of it's really, this is interesting. Deontay Wilder is still mulling the final decision on boxing future. Is that Mullen or Mullen? Mullen, whatever it is. I don't know, man. Once it gets to this, you kind of feel like we might not see Deontay Wilder. Remember when he sort of revealed that bronze statue of him in his hometown? He was like, yep, I'm coming back. I can't go out like the way I went out, blah, blah, blah. And now this, 3-4 weeks later, it's kind of like, maybe not. If you're 1 foot out, you're out. You're out. Deontay Wilder, if he doesn't have that killer in him, that fire that burns deep of I want to return and do some damage, then there is absolutely no point in returning, because this sport's far too dangerous. Look, I've always said I think there's a lot of money left on the table for Deontay, a hell of a lot of money, by the way, millions. But I'm going to copyright the phrase chaos in Lagos. That's mine. If you hear it anywhere else, it's nowhere. I was talking to Gareth A. Davis, and I was like, AJ versus Wilder in Nigeria will be crazy. And I was like, what could that name be? And I was like, chaos in Lagos. How do I copyright that? What do I do before someone steals it? In fact, someone help me. Someone message me. How do I get that so no one takes it? It's mine. I made it up on the spot. So yeah, you got a big AJ Wilder fight. Like, that fight, I know Wilder's getting on in age, but that fight will always do numbers. Always. Like, I'm telling you now, yeah, as much as, if AJ were to beat Usyk, as much as AJ versus Fury is enormous, if AJ were to beat Usyk and have 3 or 4 belts, whatever, and then say he wants Wilder in Nigeria, fucking hell, stop what you're doing, get a plane to Nigeria, because this will be incredible. Incredible. In fact, there's part of me, I know this might be a bit crazy, I think there's part of me that would actually want to see Wilder versus AJ in Nigeria as opposed to AJ versus Fury in London. And maybe that's the Nigerian side of me. Maybe there's a lot of you guys watching this who are like, what the fuck are you talking about, mate? There's part of me that would want to see that. There's also the Wilder versus Ruiz fight. Again, I've said this before, Mexican-American, African-American, it's a big thing. It's a big thing in America, especially if Ruiz looks good against Luis Ortiz. Again, 2 former world champions trying to come back for glory. Yeah, it's a good thing. Chaos in Lagos. Peace.